4.3 billion people live across this vast continent called Asia, and we are telling their stories. On this edition, Compassion in the most dangerous parts of Karachi, Pakistan's biggest city, plagued by gun violence. We meet a man who risks his own life every day to save those of others. Giving vital care to expectant mothers, a midwife in remote Afghanistan works to change mindsets to bring babies safely into the world. And the gift of hope. How this mother in Indonesia honors her daughter's spirit by making other kids' dreams come true. I'm Daniel Khan, and this is Assignment Asia. Welcome to the program. Pakistan is a country that struggles with stability. News of Islamic insurgents staging attacks often makes international headlines. But in this country's biggest city, Karachi, violence as a result of gang wars is claiming more lives than terrorist acts. I went on patrol with one organization tasked with keeping the victims alive. The calls don't stop coming. Every day for over 20 years, Farooq Baloch has been rushing to the scene. Hoping he'll get there in time to save lives. But rarely are the calls for heart attack or accident victims. The people he helps have been deliberately targeted by those who want them dead. Baloch works in the most dangerous areas. In Pakistan's biggest and deadliest city, this is Karachi, home to over 20 million people, culturally and ethnically diverse. But many of the differences that are celebrated in making Karachi so multicultural are the same ones that are tearing it apart. Crime is rampant in large swaths of the city, from petty theft to armed robberies and even political assassinations. The government says more than 2,000 people fall victim to targeted killings every year. And figure would be higher if it wasn't for people like Baloch. This is a mission, he says, that never ends. The deadly violence is a result of a city unable to keep up with its rising population. The number of people in Karachi is now 67 times more than it was 6 decades ago, growing from 300,000 to over 20 million. Overpopulated and severely under-resourced ethnic groups have become rivals, fighting for food, water and shelter in a vicious territorial war. Tensions between some of Pakistan's political parties have also spilled onto the streets. Politicians hire gangs to take out their opponents. Over the years, the problems have only grown worse.
ये सब गुर्बत का रिजल्ट है। गुर्बत खत्म हो जाए तो सारी चीजें खत्म।
But through it all, one man and his foundation have been trying to make it better. This is Abdul Sattar Eidi, the founder of the Eidi Foundation.
ऐसा मैं पाकिस्तान में आकर जो गुर्बत देखता था, एक तो मेरी पॉलिसी थी कि मुझे किसी से चंदा मांगने नहीं जाना, देने वाली कौम बनाना है.
Working for change since 1951, his foundation today offers shelter for the homeless, care for the elderly, and funeral services for those who cannot afford it. And it operates the free ambulance service for which Baloch works. I'm at the head office of the ED Center that dispatches ambulances all over the city of Karachi, especially the poorest of areas that are bearing the brunt of crime and violence. ED established his first free clinic in 1951. Because of his more than 60 years of service, many across Pakistan have come to know him as the world's greatest living humanitarian. That's why ED says even the most violent of criminals will leave his staff alone.
मेरा काम इंसानियत है। मेरे साथ जो भी काम करने वाला है, उनको कोई नहीं छेड़ता। डेंजर से डेंजर इलाकों में भी चले जाएं, यदि का नाम आता है, तो डाकू भी 100 रुपये के नोट निकाल के देता है।
When someone is in need of help, this is the first point of contact. Baloch is the ED Foundation's most senior paramedic.
कहाँ पे जो है ना इमरजेंसी हुई है या जहाँ पे कोई भी हादसा हुआ है या कहीं पे भी इमरजेंसी का कोई हादसा होता है तो हम फिर वहाँ से इसके थ्रू हम पहले तो गाड़ी को देखते हैं कि उसके करीब कौन सी गाड़ी है।
There are 800 ED ambulances strategically placed in stations across Karachi and 200 more patrolling the streets ready to respond to emergencies. Farooq has dealt with situations ranging from earthquakes to bomb blasts. But he says by far the majority of the calls ED Center receives result from gun violence. In Karachi, most of Pakistan's ethnic groups, the Pashtuns, Muhajirs, Sindhis and Balochis, live in segregated neighborhoods, all run by their own criminal gangs. Warlords on a local level who rule through fear and fight for turf. Baloch took us out on a patrol.
ये सब खासकर इसके बैक साइड जो है ना ये भी बहुत डेंजर है कच्चियों के हवाले से और खासकर ये गली जो जा रही है.
And this is Liari, the forefront of the latest gang war.
Liari has been declared by the law enforcement agencies as a no-go area, and Baloch says it is very dangerous here. Gang fights are taking place here almost every single day.
But that doesn't stop the ED ambulances. For Baloch, these streets are all too familiar. In an area where poverty is high, the armed men who guard the streets are employed by the gang leaders. How old are the boys in gangs?
इसको हैंडल करने के लिए इस ऑपरेशन को तो किसी की भी उम्र 25 साल से ज्यादा नहीं है 25 साल से नीचे 18 से लेकर 25 के दरमियान.
Even for Baloch, getting into Liari requires permission from the gang in control of each pocket.
Baloch मां आबरिया का मैं कह रहा मेहमान है ना साहब है ईदी साहब है मेहमान है हम लियारी एंट्री है जनगा.
As we enter, Baloch asks us to lower the camera so that our presence inside Liari doesn't raise suspicions. Liari is Karachi's most smallest township by area. Baloch says money is at the heart of the gang war that engulfs this poor area. The gangs extort it from the owners of shops, factories and offices in exchange for protection. They are also fighting over a drug trade that is worth millions of dollars. At a local hospital, we see several injured men as soon as we walk in. All have gunshot wounds. What happened to him? Does this happen a lot? Those injured are considered lucky because despite their best efforts, Baloch and his colleagues at the ED Foundation can't save all lives. At another hospital, 28-year-old Raza's family cannot contain their grief. He was caught in the crossfire of a shootout in an area called Sohrab Goat. Rescue is only part of Baloch's job. All too often, his mission becomes one of recovery.
जैसे कि कोई हादसा होता है तो वो उसको गाड़ी में डालकर यहाँ पे लाते हैं और इस तरह नीचे फेंक देते हैं.
यहाँ पे पानी में.
यहाँ पे पानी के अंदर लाके वो बोरी को फेंक देते हैं और फिर उसको जो है ना
Gang members bring the remains of those they've killed to this bridge and throw them into Karachi's main sewerage system. The Eidi Foundation retrieves bodies from the gutter and bring them here to the morgue. Baloch, what do you feel when you see so many bodies come and go?
एक्चुअली मसला ये है कि एक इंसान जिस फील्ड में होता है तो सुबह शाम उसका इस चीज़ों से वास्ता पड़ रहा है तो एक दिल जो है ना एक हौसला दिल मजबूत सा हो जाता है क्योंकि हर 10 मिनट 15 मिनट के बाद उसको एक बॉडी से वास्ता पड़ रहा है और उसको वो संभाल रहा है.
And even more than the personal danger he faces by working in Karachi's most dangerous neighborhoods, Baloch says the most difficult part of the job is seeing tragedy every day.
जब हम उसको हॉस्पिटल पहुंचा रहे होते हैं, जब उसके आखिरी लम्हात होते हैं या अल्फाजात होते हैं, वो एक किस्म के मैं आपको बता नहीं सकता कि वो जो बोल रहा होता है और उसको हम अपने ऊपर वो कर रहे होते हैं तो मैं उनको ऐसी एक किस्म की जुड़ी तसल्ली दे रहा होता हूँ कि आपको कुछ नहीं होगा, आप पहुँच गए अस्पताल. जब वो अस्पताल में हम उसको पहुँचाते हैं या वो दम तोड़ चुका होता है या वो ऐसा वाक़ा तो उनकी फैमिली को हैंडल करना हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ा मसला बन जाता है.
But knowing it's up to him and his colleagues to give these people what could be their last glimmer of hope, Baloch soldiers on. It's another call, another emergency. And as a defender of Karachi, Baloch says it's his duty to protect.
Police say at least 10,000 people have been arrested and more than 3,000 weapons have been seized in raids. Still, the poorest parts of Karachi remain dangerous territory. Stay with us. After the break, fighting to lower a shocking statistic in Afghanistan, where 1 in every 8 women dies in childbirth. According to Oxfam, a woman dies every 27 minutes in Afghanistan from complications related to pregnancy. The country has been labeled the worst place in the world to give birth. But one woman in a remote village of Badakhshan region is doing all she can to give expectant mothers the care they so desperately need. Maiva Bambak has a story.
We travel the beaten tracks to see change in action. To a clinic in the little village of Loyaba in the remote northeast. News had spread among the women in the surrounding communities that there was now someone here who could prevent them from dying in childbirth. Finally, there was someone who could keep their babies healthy.
My name is Shazia. I'm 22 years old, and I'm a midwife in Loyoba Clinic. In my village, there weren't any midwives, and I was the only one trained in midwifery in my village. I saw one of our cousins die in childbirth, and after that I decided to become a midwife to solve those kinds of problems.
Most patients have never visited midwives before. They are several times mothers, and their immune systems are weakened by back-to-back pregnancies.
There is no one to ask when there's a problem because I'm the only midwife. The only thing I can do is call the hospital doctors.
Shazia urges mothers to give birth within the safety of her clinic, but traditions die hard.
I've always delivered at home. I will again. If I have problems, I will go to clinic.
A few years ago, there would have been no midwife to make the journey and save mother and child. That was before the community midwife program began in Faizabad, the provincial capital. The school gives invaluable skills to young women like this one. She saw her own neighbor die in childbirth. The terrain in Badakhshan is rugged and the weather is harsh. 10 years ago, there were only 4 midwives in Badakhshan, all here at the Faizabad hospital. Women trying to get here from remote areas died on the way, some still do today. The weight of traditions does the rest. Some men don't let their wives out of the house. Some families prefer to rely on the imam's blessings than on a nurse's care.
When they bring them here, the situation is serious already because the roads and means of transport are bad.
Dr. Zurha was one of those 4 original midwives. In these halls, she continues to see some of the worst cases, but she says the midwifery program has made a difference.
Since the start of the community midwife program, there are more women coming here, but the mortality rate has decreased at the hospital. Day by day, it's getting better.
In Shazia's village, the message is getting across as well. When it came time to give birth, Samira, the school teacher, called her former English student for help.
It was Friday. Shazia was the midwife, and there was no one else. Many children and mothers died because they faced problems reaching the hospital. Now I persuade others to go to the clinic because it is better than delivering at home. Because it is very clean and Shazia is intelligent. I am happy and thankful because she did my delivery very well.
Back at her old school, Shazia was nervous and asked us to stop filming. Other women would get jealous, she said to us. So we finished our conversation at the teacher's house, away from the nosy stares. Suddenly, Shazia's father appears to greet us. So we ask him if his daughter is bringing negative attention to herself through her work.
All our people accept it, and she has the support of everyone in the village. Now people come at 10 o'clock, even midnight sometimes, and they ask for Shazia. We go together to their houses and solve their problems.
Despite all the talk of acceptance, Shazia still faces a conservative environment. One where unmarried women don't travel on their own at night. One where a woman who works shouldn't bring attention to herself. The first time we met, Shazia refused to let us film her, and after days of shooting, she still wouldn't bring us to her home. Early on in their training, the midwives learn to face other taboos and to keep quiet to protect their patients. Women have little say in matters of family planning here. When they want to stop having children, they must often hide their contraception from their husbands. Midwives here are gatekeepers for the most rebellious female act in the patriarchal society that is Afghanistan.
There are about 16 or 20 people per day who want contraception. In Afghanistan, men do not come to the clinic. Actually, the man and wife should come together to discuss taking breaks in pregnancies.
Awareness is growing, old habits are breaking. Shazia is very young, yet an authority in a community, a pillar for mothers when she's never had a child herself, and without her knowing, a model for other midwives to be, and all Afghan women still striving to find a place in society. For Assignment Asia, this is Maeva Bambuk in Loyoba, Afghanistan.
Despite improvements since the fall of the Taliban over a decade ago, nearly 40% of the Afghans still live in poverty and healthcare options are limited. Still ahead on Assignment Asia, turning a personal tragedy into hope for others. An Indonesian mother's mission to grant sick kids their last wishes. This week's stories focus on care, but what happens when all the care you can give isn't enough to save a loved one? Andy Saputra reports on one Indonesian mother who is determined to keep her daughter's memory alive by helping other sick kids.
All his life, Muhsin has watched the world go by. This house is all he's ever known. Muhsin was 10 months old and had just started to walk when he got sick and lost all the strength in his legs. He never recovered. His mother carried him around until he got too big.
Saya dari duduk aja begitu. Yang pindah di luar, masuk. Itu doang.
Muhsin has the symptom of severe polio, but his parents could not afford to take him to the doctor. Immobilized and constantly in pain, Muhsin has to depend on his mother for everything.
Ya, dan suka minum kasihan orang-orang pada bisa jalan, dia nggak bisa jalan gitu doang. Teman-temannya pada bisa jalan, dia enggak begitu. Udah aja udah kakinya begitu.
Today, though, offers something different. This is Natalie Chahia, and she comes with a gift. Natalie is the founder of Maria Monique Foundation, named after her daughter who died of a lung infection when she was just 7. This charity aims to help ease the suffering of children with terminal illness or incurable diseases by granting them their wishes. Muhsin is scared, but curious after his mom and Natalie persuaded him to give the wheelchair a try. It will give him means to finally be able to see beyond the doorway.
When I pushed the wheelchair, it was a happiness for me. I can only thank God. It was amazing that I'm allowed to witness His happiness.
Natalie comes here every month, laying flowers at her daughter's final resting place.
This is the place where Maria Monique came to me. I was scattering her ashes with my parents when suddenly I felt she whispers to my heart. She said, "Mom, thank you for taking care of me." And she asked me to give my heart and spread happiness to other children who are suffering. That's why I started the foundation.
She didn't know exactly what she needed to do, but she started the foundation anyway, initially funding it with donations from family and friends.
When I was trying to help the very first unfortunate kid, I had no money whatsoever. I only have faith that somehow there will be a way.
To date, the foundation have helped around 15,000 children around Indonesia and abroad, getting donations just by word of mouth. The foundation has reached kids as far away as South Africa, China, and Haiti.
Kalau saya ke Shanghai, tolong kamu kasih informasi.
I went to Shanghai with a friend for a vacation, but I couldn't enjoy it, and I felt that I needed to keep doing my work. So I went door to door in Shanghai with the help of friends, and we found a foundation there for kids with disabilities. After talking to them, I managed to find donators for their wishes, and we ended up building a happy room for those kids to play in. I was so moved, and I felt ecstatic to have found them.
Oh, my life, fate like paradise.
Natalie is also actively finding unfortunate children abroad through one of her projects, Charity Songs to the World. She composes songs to comfort unfortunate children and hopes to inspire others. Today, she is giving this song to the South African Embassy, where one of the singers is the ambassador's wife.
I thought it's one of those things that not many people would do, and for me, I thought it's almost impossible for someone to devote her life to others, to give to others, to make others happy, not to think about yourself. And from that day, I just felt this attraction to her because I admired what she was doing.
Through her unspeakable personal loss, Natalie has managed to touch so many others. And here, surrounded by the kids that she helped, she is finally at peace.
Tuhan mau saya itu help unfortunate kids. Saya juga care.
I think it's God's will for me to give my life to unfortunate kids and care for others. To not just give happiness to one, to Maria Monique, but to a lot more.
Setelah saya journey ya. Jadi awalnya kan
I was lost before in my journey, but I find my peace in the smile of these kids.
Her journey of incredible loss that has turned to hope and giving young people like Motion chances to do things they never dreamed possible. For Assignment Asia, this is Andy Sputra in Jakarta.
A mother who honors her daughter through charity. You can learn more about this and all the other stories on today's program on our website, assignment-asia.com. You can share your thoughts and contribute story ideas for future shows. That's all the time we have for this week. I'm Daniel Khan. Thanks for watching and join us again on Assignment Asia.